And at this time, we will have roll call by Ms. Michelle Cross.
Okay, Dr. Alan Chase.
Present.
Dr. Sean Tacoon. Ms. Tracy Wilkerson.
Here.
Ms. Tiana Sims Beecher.
Here.
Dr. Ricky Scott. Mr. John DeLuca.
Here.
And then you said Mr. Mulholland was taking a deposition, so he would not be here. So the only one we have not heard from is Dr. Sean Tacoon. Okay.
All right. At this time, we will have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America.
Republic for which it stands,
It stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, Dr. Chase.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Diggs. Good morning to everyone. So we have a quorum of the voting members of the board. So we will proceed with the agenda. First on the agenda is the minutes from our May 9th. That was a specially called meeting on May the 9th. Did everyone receive a copy of those minutes from Ms. Cross?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, very well. Are there any questions or concerns? And if not, is there a member of the board who is willing to make a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
I was not present at that meeting, so I don't feel comfortable making that motion, but I will second it if someone else wants to make it.
I can make a motion to accept the minutes of that meeting. I can't remember the date.
Yep. Thank you, Tracy. So I hear a motion for May the 9th. Ms. Beechler, you indicated you would second. Okay, fantastic. There's a motion and a second to adopt the minutes as presented from the May 9th special board meeting. Any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. All right, next on the agenda, we have the minutes from our closed session of the board. That was from our April the 9th meeting. You should have also received a copy of those minutes from Ms. Cross. Any questions or concerns regarding those? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to adopt those minutes as presented?
Motion to accept.
I can second.
All right, thank you, Tiana and Tracy. There is a motion and a second to adopt the minutes from our closed session on April the 9th, 2025 as presented. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. Very good. All right, Mr. Diggs, do we have everyone present for the next one?
We got partial, and I think the other is en route. So we can go ahead and start, and I think it'll all work itself out.
Okay, very good.
All right, very good.
So next on the agenda, we have some recognitions and celebrations. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Diggs.
So, good morning, board members. Good morning, general public. It is my honor as superintendent of Governor Moorhead School to present this acknowledgement of Carolyn Muldrow in acknowledgement of her pending retirement. Ms. Muldrow has been a stalwart at the school for years and years and years, and so many years that she let me know that she thought that it was time to retire. And we are absolutely sad to see her leave, but understand that you get to this place in life where you make decisions because you want to enjoy some other things after working with many kids and colleagues for many years. One of the wonderful things, or a few of the wonderful things that I'll say about Ms. Muldrow is not only she's been a stalwart for the campus, but she has driven our summer camp for the last several years, and as well as when we've had outreach programs in the past, has been a part of trying to make those things happen for short term. And so I have relied on her knowledge and her support as we try to get that position back in place. But most of all, and the thing that encourages me, and I'm hopeful that it has rubbed off on all of her colleagues, is her willingness to serve. And in her willingness to serve, she's been honorable in all things. And so I have the extreme privilege today to be able to present to those and acknowledge Ms. Carolyn Muldrow on her retirement. And Ms. Muldrow, we'll give you a hand clap. And if there are any words you'd like to say.
Well, I would like to say that I have enjoyed working here for 39 plus years, and it was hard to decide to retire because I love working with students and being here on campus and working with some awesome coworkers. And I will miss Governor Moorhead School, but I will not be coming back to retire. Serve.
Very good. So, okay. So at this time, we'll come over to take a picture. Awesome. Very good. Ms. Muldrow,
Congratulations.
thank you so very much for your
Thank
service. We
you.
appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. And so we will acknowledge, go ahead and acknowledge, and it's probably because he's a little tied up. Also retiring will be Mr. Frank Hobbs, who is our maintenance director. And certainly he's done a yeoman's job in a short period of time that he's been here on campus, but he also serves the campus several years prior to becoming the actual GMS maintenance director this year. And so his presence is going to be sorely missed, but he has been consistent in building the maintenance shop back up, making sure that we have the things necessary, having our maintenance team be welcomed onto the campus, and also ensuring that the purchases that need to be made for the maintenance team are made. One other interesting thing about Frank, one thing that we have in common is our love of fishing, and here comes Frank now. Very good. It works out wonderful.
Good timing.
So, like I said, he's a busy guy, and so but we want to duly give him his acknowledgement today for retirement. And so come on over, Frank. You'll stand in front of the camera. Frank, would you have anything you'd like to say about your retirement and your work piece?
Nothing right off hand. Just been very busy this morning and ready to enjoy some retirement time.
All right. So on behalf of Governor Moorhead School, we want to acknowledge your retirement, and we want to take a picture with you. All right.
All right.
And so
Thank you.
what will occur? Thank you so much, sir. Come on up this way. Thank you. Those are the acknowledgements, Dr. Chase. Thank you so much.
Okay. Very good. Well, again, on behalf of the board, to both Ms. Muldrow and Mr. Hobbs, thank you for your service to our school, and we wish you the best of luck in your retirement.
So Dr. Chase, at this time, because we are awaiting our representatives from GPI for the next couple of items,
Okay.
I would ask the board's flexibility to move forward to the conversation about invoice
Sure.
and come back to those other items if the board so pleases.
Yes. Let's move on to the DHHS invoice. Whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. So, board members, you should have received in your digital packet a new invoice from the Department of Health and Human Services with the given amount that's there. I know that we had previous discussions about how to address a previous invoice. This is confirmation of the information that I gave to you last time that DHHS did let us know that there would be some other incoming invoices based on the last meeting that we had with them. And so what I would say is, again, because of the amount and because of prior decisions, I want to make sure the board was aware of the invoice and potentially have some discussion on how to handle it.
And Mr. Diggs, if excuse me, if I can add, apologize. Allergies have gotten in my throat this week. I had a meeting scheduled with their general counsel last week to kind of go over the invoices and answer some of the questions Mr. Diggs and I had. Board members, they canceled that meeting. That meeting has now been rescheduled for this afternoon. I was hoping to get it scheduled before today, but it is scheduled at 2:00 today. And the reason the lawyers are meeting about invoices, I'm not really sure that's the smartest thing to do is have us meet about numbers, but they pretty much told DHHS leadership, pretty much told Mr. Diggs, it just all needs to go through the lawyers now. I think that's accurate, Mr. Diggs. I think that's what they said to you. Despite Mr. Diggs' efforts of asking some legitimate, reasonable questions. So that's kind of where we are. My initial questions are really around, the bigger invoice for maintenance going from July of 24 to up to March 1. And then this extra additional invoice is just March of 25. And what you will notice is if you look on the spreadsheet that this invoice, and this is what they did on the other ones too, they just take their entire maintenance cost and say that GMS is 15% of all the square footage, and then just multiply the entire maintenance cost by 15%. That's how they came up with a number to charge us. So kind of just put that out there for context.
Couple of questions, if I may. This is Tiana. One, was there any information provided as to how that 15% number came to be, or any breakdown?
I think in the original spreadsheet and invoices, I think and Mr. Diggs, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was a square footage breakdown of like all the facilities between our campus and their neighboring campus. And that's how they came up with that. Now, I've not gone back and ran the math. I mean, it's all in a spreadsheet, but I think they did break all that out.
Okay.
That is correct. My understanding is by square.
And
Okay.
Ms. Sims, if you don't have that spreadsheet, let us know. One of us will get it to you. I think it was in the meeting materials for the last meeting, but I think you said you might not have been there. So
Right.
if you need to see that, we can certainly send it to you.
Very good. And then the second question that I had is, being that you guys are the attorneys for both parties are going to meet today, would it be inappropriate to request that we move this discussion to a later date pending what that conversation outcome may be?
But potentially, and so in the previous invoice, the big one, the 800 and some thousand, at the last meeting, the board approved the chair and the superintendent and myself to go forward and negotiate, and then you can determine and then report back what that amount was negotiated, even if it's the full amount, because we just had questions. I mean, we're not necessarily saying they're overcharging us. We just want to, trust and verify, but, and gave us the authority to do that, to pay whatever amount we thought was ultimately reasonable or, decided by the chair and the superintendent. And so I don't know if you want to do the same thing here with the $59,000. And I would look to Mr. Diggs' expertise to even understand if he felt like he got $59,000 worth of services in March of this year. I don't even know, because I don't see utility cost. Well, there is plant operations, and that would, I guess, be utility costs. But as far as the other stuff, I don't know if you feel like you've got that kind of work in it. But I certainly feel like we're going to have to probably have another conversation before the end of this month. But there's also some timeline issues that Mr. Diggs can explain a little bit better, because of DPI and GMS needing to close their books to begin the end of the year budget process as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean. I'd like to speak to those three items. So item number one, going back to our last meeting regarding the larger invoice. So, and I looped in Dean just so he knew what was kind of happening in the background. We did let the Department of Public Instruction budget know that we had been authorized to do that amount that the board gave us the authorization for last time. And there was a question on whether it was a transfer from state agency to state agency, or whether we would pay the invoices, we would pay any other invoice. We have not gotten any confirmation one way or another. I did reach back out again this week to figure out what's going to happen or who's going to do whatever. Still have not gotten anything back. Hopefully we will get that and move forward with the payment that the board has authorized. The second feature is I do not have, and again, have requested multiple times, actual utility bills and other things connected to these operations costs. I feel like ad nauseum have tried to support getting that information, to have more information for the board to make a decision about some of these things, or for us to at least understand how these numbers have come about. Again, the only thing that I've been able to support was what I gave you last time, which was the spreadsheet with their breakdown from their own line item codes, which may or may not be the same as what we do with GMS. And then thirdly, and more importantly, kind of moving forward to the timeline that being referred to again, we were notified back at the end of March from DPI that their closeout process actually begun last week. And so there is some flexibility up to the beginning of June about how we pay some things. But then after that, my concern is that these monies will revert back to the state, in short of a General Assembly type of situation that would intervene. We would lose these monies. And what my biggest concern is walking into the next school year, the fiscal year, that begins July 1, is that we potentially have a bill that's looming that we potentially may have to pay, and have to find monies for that in our budget. And I think, given the state of what we know, it's been accurate for public schools, and monies and education, I would not be very comfortable with the school having to locate a large sum of money to pay a bill when we've had the funds available in this cycle.
Thank you.
All right. Tiana, did that answer all your questions?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Yes. All right. And I think Dean, you answered. I was going to ask. I think you kind of already answered it, but I just want to to clarify for my own satisfaction that we believe that this, for Mr. Diggs, that this invoice includes both utilities and maintenance, because what I would be concerned about is, are we potentially going to receive an additional invoice for other services?
So it's my understanding in the last meeting that I attended with DHHS, when they refer to operational costs, it includes utilities and other maintenance costs involved. That was my understanding.
Okay.
And so if you have the information, or if you recall the information from our last meeting, they had the section that was deemed fringes and salary, and then the other section was just operating costs. On this new one, you don't see fringes and salary anymore. operate.
Yeah. All right, and then Mr. Diggs, yeah. All right, and then Mr. Diggs, so this is for March. We received the previous one. This one's from covering the time period of March. Do we anticipate, what was it?
We'll get two to three more.
2 to 3 more, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to, wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
Okay, and so I
And
guess.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, nothing. I just, do we believe, well, and this may change, Dean, after your meeting, I guess, but I guess if we are expecting 2 to 3 more invoices, we can fairly assume that they're probably going to be around the same amount?
I'm going to make that assumption, if you'll recall from our last meeting, based on what we projected. We projected somewhere between 60 to 70,000, and you see that this particular invoice is right at 60,000. So unless there's some other extraneous costs that we're not aware of, I have an expectation that would be right around that sort of kind of 60 to 70,000 mark.
Okay, so potentially another 200,000.
Potentially so, yes.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dean.
And Mr. I'm sorry, thank you. And Mr. Diggs, I mean, we're going to kind of have to figure out how to plan for that, right? And maybe because I mean, if we're, even if we can come to some agreement on the big number, and we pay them before June 1st or transfer the money for June 1st, if we get caught with some other bill for May in the beginning of June, we may not have a way to. So we're going to have to, I guess, maybe keep that in mind and just figure out maybe an estimate for those months, for April and May, basically. So I don't know. We'll just have to keep that in mind.
I agree with that, and I will. We can talk more in closed session. There is something that I'm working on that could potentially move some money forward into the next budget. If we think that that's a situation, it's not a guarantee that it can occur, but it is something that could potentially give us some flexibility. But again, my brother is just to see the most that we can do towards it, so that we would have less of an issue walking into it.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Diggs. Does anyone else have any questions regarding this invoice that has been presented? Okay, hearing none. Is there a member of the board who would like to make a motion as to how the board should take action on this agenda item?
Are we going to hold off till after Dean's meeting?
Well, I think that's one possibility. We can certainly defer it, and we can call a special meeting later on if we need to. We could also, as Dean mentioned earlier, we could take similar action as we did last time and authorize a certain amount to be negotiated or some variation like that. It's whatever the pleasure of the board.
I would prefer the second option. I just don't know what amount I would say to put forth on that one.
And Mr. Chairman, Dr. Takun just joined us too. Not sure if you noticed that on the screen, but and I think the last time when we were talking about the big amount, it was really, I think, just allowing the chair and the superintendent to verify and discuss that amount, and then allow them to negotiate it. But it could ultimately be 100% of the amount that they invoiced us for, if we felt that was an accurate number or representation of what we have cost DHHS over the last fiscal year. So I don't know if you want to do that with the $59,000 too for March, and even then thinking about April and May as well. Or we could come back before June 1st too and update you and move forward. So whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Oh, I'll make a motion to allow the chair, the superintendent, and the attorney to move forward with negotiations up into including the entire cost of the invoice.
Okay, thank you, Tiana. So the motion, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I will second it.
All right, there's a motion and a second, so that the invoice that was presented for 59,000 and change, the chair and the superintendent and the attorney will work with DHHS on negotiating that potentially up to and including the full amount. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. Dr. Takun, are you there?
I am.
All right, welcome.
Sorry, I had a computer crash, and so I was trying to find where I had access to this Outlook account. And yeah, it's been an interesting week.
Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. All right, Mr. Diggs, do you want to go back to another?
I would. We do now have our representative from the Department of Public Instruction here to talk about emergency declaration and also give us a capital projects update. So at this time, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. John Long and Mr. John Jones to the floor to first discuss the emergency declaration. You can,
If you don't,
stand close to the table.
yeah, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, the gray box right there.
Yeah.
Next up is the mic.
Okay. All right, are we on camera, by the way? We are.
You are.
You are now.
You can sit with Dr.
And you're welcome to
James.
sit. You're welcome to sit
Harm
here.
anyone.
Sure.
Dancing is welcomed as well.
Slide one more in.
You're good.
Actually, the first thing I'd like to do before I go to anything is, as you may know, I've been working for the school now for 13 years as a capital project coordinator, and I want to say to the board and to the staff that it's been an honor working for the school. I love the school. I care deeply what happens to the school, and so everything we do is with that in mind. And I want to make sure that the transition from DPI goes as smoothly as possible. Okay, no answer. I'm assuming.
Sorry, I'm looking.
My assumption is correct. It looks like this.
Okay. I think, yeah, just run through the list.
All right, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so the first item on the list is the GMS primary electrical upgrades. We are getting close to being able to start working this. I do not think it will bid before June 30th. The next two steps that we have in the project is that the designer has to get final approval by state construction, and then we have to get approval of the right of entry easement by the board of state board. What do they call it? Council of State. All right, so as part of the information provided for the thing, I provided the GMS form for disposition of real property, the PO2 form, and that describes the project. But I'm going to just give you a quick update of what this project is because it's significant. What we're doing and the purpose of the project is right now we have what's considered a primary electrical system, which is at 14,400, which is a very high voltage, and we don't have any staff that is capable of maintaining the system. The system was installed in 1998, and in the last 10 years, we've had failure at least 3 transformers, and we had multiple fuses blown. And so the purpose of the project is to basically abandon our primary system and have Duke Energy provide new transformers and have Duke Energy be the people to modify and maintain the system, because we have a very small maintenance staff, as you know, and they don't have the qualifications. And then during a storm, it's even worse because Duke steals all the primary electrical contractors, and we have to call everybody in the state to find somebody to fix our system. So that's the purpose of the project and why we're doing it. As part of it, Duke has to run primary electrical underground throughout the campus, which they're going to do via boring, which is a means of providing wiring by drilling under the ground. We provided them with a site. We'll have surveys for that. And this process will take approximately 2 years to do. And if you notice under my notes, their cost for this is about $841,525, which is part of the budget for the project. So you don't have to worry about the budget for it. We've got it covered. And the uncommitted amount is 4 times the amount estimated by the designer for the work that would have to be done by our contractor. So there'll be not significant interruption. We're going to be doing as a make before break. We'll have, until Duke is ready to finish with their work, we will have our primary system operational. Our contractor will disable the system after Duke has got all the things, and we will transition each building one by one as schedule allows to the Duke system. And then when failures occur, then instead of us having to call maintenance, maintenance will call Duke Energy. They'll send their trucks. During a hurricane, they'll send their trucks. We won't have to worry anymore if power goes out on the campus if we're able to find a part or find a contractor to do the work. So the one thing we do need is that the form, the PO2 form, needs to be signed. And this is the next step in that process. And I've described the work on there and I described what's going to happen to the property. Once their utilities are installed, we're allowed to go perpendicular and we'll have to coordinate our installation of new utilities with their right of entry. It'll actually be an easement by them, which will be very similar with our primary system. We have to coordinate right now with our primary electrical. We don't want to hit electricity when we do things, but it's a little bit more protocol, but it will be better for the school. In the long run, it'll make it easier to make changes and maintain power on campus. So someone from the school will have to sign on the second page of the PO2 form, and then I will send that to the state property office. They'll review it, and then they will put it on the agenda for the Council of State, which I assume will take approximately 2 months. Does anybody have any questions about that particular project before I go into the other projects?
Well, so I am curious. So it's going to improve the reliability of our electricity, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any potential cost factors? Will our cost of utilities increase, decrease, stay the same?
They would probably stay the same. Depends on how they bill. At first, there may be a little surprise with the bill because now we have one primary service. Mm-hmm. We'll have multiple small services. So there could be an adjustment on our utilities, but I'm not absolutely certain that will occur.
Sure.
And we won't know for 2 years.
Right.
But I do not expect a significant. Part of the reason we have to pay them the $841,000 is we're not giving them a load credit. Usually when you do your utilities, we're going to put a new building on, and then they'll say, hey, we'll do the transformer for free because they know they're going to charge you for your electricity. Right. But in this case, we're basically just switching the means they're providing. So we're not either losing load or gaining load, right, as part of the process. So I think you're close to a zero, maybe slight changes, about maybe 5% or 10% increase, but that is only an engineering guess.
Sure. Thank you. Any other questions from the board for the electricity project?
No, not here.
Okay. Do y'all need to vote on whether or not we need to sign the form? Will that occur on a different day?
We do, Mr. Chairman, we do need to approve moving forward with this, since it will ultimately be requesting an easement, but we can do that now or we can do it later at the end, either way.
Okay. Do you have anything else that?
No, I think that on that particular subject, I'm done.
Okay.
A question may come while I'm talking about other things, but other than that, let me just go through the list.
Yeah.
On the other stuff. Okay. I'm not going to talk as much about each project as I did on that one. So if you look at the list on the capital projects update, you'll see that we have sections. The first one is the GMS primary electrical, which we discussed. The second one is the dorm AV sprinkler upgrades. This project has been approved by state construction. We have set a pre-bid and a bid date for this. The pre-bid is I think on the 15th of June, and the bid date will be the 27th of June. I'm hoping that we'll have contract resolved before the 30th of June. So that, it's a clean cut on this one. I've sent an email to Melvin about discussion about how to coordinate the dormitories, because we're going to have to basically take one dormitory down at a time to put sprinklers in it and new lights. So it's going to look better, and it's going to be extremely more safe for the students. This is something that the state and I have been wanting to do for years. So that's where that stands. The gym roof, I'm moving on to construction. Under construction, the first one is the gym roof. That has been completed. It is in closeout. And if anybody's been on campus, we've got new tiles on the front. And these are clay tiles, historic clay tiles that match the tiles that were installed 100 years ago. And the roof should last at least another 50 to 100 years. We're protecting that wonderful historic gym with the beautiful floor, and the second floor, maybe the first upper floor track in the state. I'm not sure, but it's close. The current chiller project is in closeout as well. We're done with that. So we had some minor controls changes, and we're running well. And that's a good thing, because again, as part of our transition, we want to make sure you guys got a brand new chiller on that. We got brand new controls, so that current building is going to run a lot better with the new equipment in it. The third one is the dorm chillers, which is about 2 to 4 weeks behind the current chiller, where you have to do a final inspection, and the chillers are running, the buildings are being cooled, and everything is working fine. And I'm showing on the gym roof and the dorm chillers, I'm showing that we have uncommitted funds of $229,000 on the roof, and then uncommitted funds on the dorm chillers. So when we're done, there's more money to do additional projects. The original project for the dorm chillers, the next one was going to be the structural for the Simpson building, and the gym roof project was supposed to be for a science renovation. But right now we don't have the space to renovate, so those funds could be used for what is needed capital-wise. All right, the building for HVAC and generator, this project was funded from the same amount from the GMS primary electrical upgrades. And this was to add a generator on your IT building so that we don't lose our data. But we also added air conditioning. It was originally steam radiators, and I'm assuming we have really good air conditioner. Is that correct, Jonathan? It gets pretty cold there. All right, so we've done our job. The next one is the emergency project GMS controls relocation. As of 2 days ago, I spoke to the contractor. He's trying to get his project superintendent ready. We're going to have a small meeting before we start, and we've got approval from state construction. We've got approval, or we do not have to submit for review, at least as far as I understand. The contract is entered in Interscope, and so it's just a means of us doing the work. And I have allocated $150,000. The budget that the contractor bid was $114,000. The $35,000 is meant for unforeseen circumstances. As you know, in every construction project, we're going to find some. All right, so moving on to the second page, these are projects that we currently have funds for, but we have not started yet. One is the library HVAC, and that project is to replace the full HVAC system for library, including ductwork and piping, and the 2 chillers. Currently, as you know, in the past, we've had some air quality issues because we do not have adequate outside air. And the stuff was all installed in, again, 1998 approximately. So the equipment is near the end of its life. And so other than the $150,000 we're using for the emergency controls project, we have all the funds for that project. And so I assume the new capital project coordinator will take that project, take the reins on that project. The second project is Security Phase 2, GMS Security Phase 2. And the budget for that is $1 million. And I stated that we're gonna use 100,000 of that dollars for library security access control. But I think that based on recent information, we'll use Wake County rental funds since the amount is only $17,000. We have a meeting scheduled to discuss that so that we make sure that the contract covers everything we need on the project, so we don't have any surprises. And then once we do that, then I'm going to recommend approval of this work so we can put in a new panic button for the school, and also to change the security access to a different contractor, because in the past, A3, the contractor we have, has been undependable. But the other part of security, the remaining amount, the additional 900,000, actually the full million, is to put card access to all the buildings that are served by the students, the dormitories, the gym, the cafeteria, perhaps the admin building, also to expand our intercom system to other buildings, including the dormitories, and providing additional speakers in the gym, providing cameras on the campus. And the last part is to provide a new wall inside library. And the purpose of that wall is to create a security vestibule, which is now, as you know, with security being a concern, all schools are creating security vestibules so that when we have people that come into school, they're stuck in that space until we allow them inside the school, which will make it a lot safer for the students. I'm listing also 2 projects. Was that a question or just a noise?
Someone joined the meeting.
All right, thank you. The 2 projects we currently have funding requested for is the boiler plant renovations, and that is a full renovation of the boiler plant. I hopefully have estimated enough for us to cover it. That will also include the storage area adjacent to the boiler plant, and whoever is the capital project coordinator will have to determine how to use those funds best. We may consider making changes, maybe having buildings not on the boiler to make the boiler smaller and spend less money on the boiler plant and more money on other buildings, but that will be up to whoever is in the future. I wish I could do it, but that's not me. On the other one is the GMS Penland HVAC upfit. This was originally presented by Melvin as on a 2-year, but this is what we have for this year. And the purpose of that is to renovate the Penland building to allow staff to use that building. The building needs upgrade to its electrical stuff, as well as mechanical equipment, and then adding air conditioning. As you may not know, we use window units in that building, and we use steam radiators. The idea is to put a HVAC system with outside air and good for the people using the building. Again, staff was concerned about outside air quality in that building, so the purpose of the project will also give better air for that space. All right, I'm not going to go through the funding for capital projects. John is here with me. Is there anything on those, the 5 items listed here that we should mention?
I think that's just for information, because some folks on the board may not know. It's just kind of general statements about some of the things we deal with, and then the new items, you could talk about those, and then I don't mind giving a brief about the CPC transition and what that means.
All right, I'm going to do this. I've got a list of tiny projects. I'm going to go through those pretty quick, and then why don't you talk about what's going on with the new capital project coordinator? All right, so we're going to have on the GMS auditorium list under new items. The first item is the GMS auditorium lift. We have an inspection on the 22nd with the Department of Labor, which means the lift will be available for our final auditorium events at the end of the year. The GMS Cafe has been completed. We added electricity for that, and plumbing and mechanical, and that project is complete. The GMS playground safety, I just walked by that as we stepped over here to the building. I see that it's about 80% done. We have new equipment. It is definitely safer. These were items after the playground was donated during the inspection. We saw some things that we thought would make the space safer. And so we had a project to do those items, and we're almost finished with that project. And that's to add some soft stuff on corners, provide a new swing, provide better labeling and painting colors, and getting rid of trip hazard for the playground. And that is, based on my view, is almost complete. The GMS gym paving, which I haven't seen yet because I haven't been able to go out there, has been completed in front of the gym. We also will be starting another small project of dorm AB paving, which is to pave the parking lot of dorm AB and also the driveway to that, and that should occur in the first week of June. The last project on this list is the GMS Simpson floor abatement. This is part of the carpeting project that Archie Hunt is working on. The abatement contractor should be starting work in the middle of June to get rid of the asbestos floor tile. And that is all of the projects that I know of that is occurring or has been completed at this time. Does anybody have any questions about any of these projects or any other projects?
Okay, any questions from members of the board? Okay, hearing none.
All right, John, go ahead and explain what's going on with the capital project coordinates.
Okay, before I do that, I want to echo something John said earlier too, because I don't think you'll find anybody that would ever have been more passionate or more knowledgeable or more dedicated than John Jones has been. And I'm currently the capital project coordinator for the Eastern School, but I have the same sentiment down there with those folks. And so this is a difficult departure for all of us. It's been a passionate work for what we do for the kids and things like that. And in these final days where we're being told we have to separate, it's finally landed, and I'm actually helping all three schools with the transition in terms of getting the CPCs on board. And it was originally thought of going the direction we've gone to get an outsourced CPC because of the time frame it seems to take to hire a qualified person for such a specific role. So again, just know that this first effort is a stopgap measure, if you would, to determine whether or not you want to continue to do it as an outsource or give you time to think about getting somebody like a John, and I'm gonna say you can't have John, but like a John on your campus for the future, to be an on-staff person, which we think is probably the best model for you because of the fact that they become an owner of where they're at and a part of the environment. So I'll say that as well. But that's what this effort is, to get the interim CPC. We're trying to get somebody who's qualified and has the background and understanding of dealing with state construction, state contracts, state work, and all of that stuff that's important. And we also want to make sure what we realized quickly is not everybody knows that the football we carry is about 500 pounds. And it's not necessarily something easy to hand off. And you heard John talk about the primary project. There's going to need to be a lot of grace with the new CPC when they start, because that is just going to take that. But I will say this, we actually interviewed firms mid-April. We shortlisted 2 firms. We sent out got 2 responses to the RFQ. We interviewed those firms mid-April, and we shortlisted, ranked them 1 and 2. And then we're negotiating with one and actually have our first, they have requested meetings on campus. So we'll do one tomorrow here and at Eastern. And then Friday I go to Morganton for that meeting. And then we hope to have a proposal on hand next week, so we can begin to dissect what that looks like. That said, we were hoping to be further along than we are right now. And like John said, June 30th is coming, but we're committed. If once the CPC's in the seat, they need to sit down at a meeting with us and talk about the primary project. Probably come to a progress meeting for those things that are in construction. So again, we're in stride. And so if we're into July for a meeting or 2 or whatever, we're not going to step away, other than we're going to try to fade to the background from the day in and day out stuff. Let the folks that are in place take over and handle their stuff. But at the same time, we want to make sure we give it to them in the best light and in the best manner possible. So that's our personal commitment. Although DPI Legal has us by the back of the britches right now, saying June 30th. You know, we'll work that out as we go. So again, it's something we regret having to do, but I just want to make sure y'all understand that it's just something we're having to deal with. And now that the ball's landed clearly at our level of dealing with it, then we're trying to make sure we end it off well. So if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them. And let me say one more thing, that the sessions with the CPC will also include, you know, staff who you would choose to sit down and go through the files and, you know, understand how things are organized, history of stuff. Some of that's captured in the state construction interscope system because those projects are in there. But also we have, you know, pay apps, things like that from history that we will, you know, turn over both those documents, any existing drawings and extra manuals or whatever we're going to bring to the school. So you may have duplicates, but you'll have that information here as part of the turnover. So we see it again as a series of meetings with the new CPC and the maintenance folks. You know, I know y'all are, you know, working your way through that, and I understand that, but it's just not going to come June 30th that we fall off the map. So what John said is very accurate about that. So with that, any questions?
All right, any questions regarding the transition with a capital projects coordinator? Okay, well, great. Well, thank you both very much for your time and your service to our school.
Thank you very much as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, I just thank these guys for all the work they've been putting in on this CPC transition. I mean, all of their work. I've just kind of been involved. You know, our office has been involved in this transition a little bit, and they have, you know, really carried the water and helping us out, and really appreciate it, gentlemen.
And I also would like to say, one, I would like to thank Melvin. It's been an honor working with Melvin and Barbria in the past. Frank and the maintenance staff done a great job.
Yep.
IT people that are here, Michelle, all the staff in the admin, Archie. We're a team, and we always have the students' best interest. Okay. And I am literally saddened, you know, that I won't have the opportunity of being here as often as I have in the past. And I really did enjoy working for the school. And I really hope that you understand that we have made this place a better place than what it was 13 years ago. And that, you know, you have a new auditorium, fire alarm systems throughout your campus. We've done a lot of things, and I'm proud of what we've done. And I think that we're going to have some more good years to come. And my phone is available. You know, I still call Debbie Jackson every once in a while just to find a little bit of history. Okay. And I am always available for history. So if someone wants to know what happened 7 years ago, do you know anything about this? My phone is there. We're supposed to support the school systems of the state, of which Governor Moorhead is one of them. So that this is part of our future job as well, is to make sure each school system has the support of the Department of Public Instruction. So we're not going to do everything for you, but we are there to assist you.
Cool. Thank you. All right, so to circle back to, I forgot the name of the form you mentioned, John.
The PO2.
To circle back to the PO2, so this form, as he indicated, would give authorization for the easement that is required for Duke Energy. Are there any questions from members of the board regarding that request? Okay, hearing none, is there a member of the board willing to make a motion to authorize sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. Is there someone who is willing to make a motion that we authorize that easement by signing the document?
This is Sean Takun. I will make a motion that we authorize the easement by signing the PO2. Is that right?
Yes.
That's
Got
fine.
it.
That proves I'm paying attention. Here we go.
Good job. Sorry, 1 second. Dean, I probably should have asked this. Do we need to specify who's signing it?
Let me look at the form real quick. And just for clarification, we're approving the request to the Department of Administration for the easement. I'm fine approving the full easement because once DOA approves it, then we won't have to approve it again. I would have the chair sign this.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be the right of entry. The first step in a easement is the right of entry, which allows them to do the work. At the end of the project, a drawing is supposed to be submitted to the state, and then that will be the easement. And yes, you will have to do that at the end as well.
Yep.
Okay. So, Dr. Takun, are you willing to amend your motion to so that it's a request for an easement?
I amend my motion to say the request for an easement.
All right. Thank you so much. So there's a motion for us to request approval for an easement. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. I heard a second. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. Very good. John, and if you need to leave, I can sign it whenever you're ready.
I'll stay.
Okay. Yes.
I have a question. Am I sending this via DocuSign or you want to actually sign it in person?
Oh, I mean, I can physically sign whatever his preference is.
Either way works. I think the last one we did, it was via DocuSign. This is not the official form. Maybe we should do a DocuSign. I like that as a better idea.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So under capital projects, we also have the sub-point B about maintenance progress. Mr. Hobbs is still here to just give a quick update on the progress of maintenance.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Mr. Hobbs.
Yes, sir, you.
I think we got a few items here. Maybe you want to provide some updates? Your last official duties?
Yes, sir. Well, we're still doing interviews for the jobs here. Our ground shop is pretty much we got all we got lawnmowers, equipment, take care of grounds right now 100%. We still need help every now and then with safety items, emergencies like on chillers, stuff like that. That's what I was doing this morning, working on chiller for mine grade went down. As soon as we get a full crew, well, we are getting a lot of tools in now. We're getting shop. We got gators coming in July, so that everyone can ride around to all the buildings without driving trucks on the grass and whatnot. So what else is on here? Maintenance building changes, building inspections. Which one's Ryan on the capital project updates?
Yeah, letter B.
Sub-point B.
Purchases are going good. Maintenance building changes. We're doing good on keeping everything running, keeping everything going. We're trying not to do too much with Dick's right now and try to take care of it ourselves unless it's a emergency. We don't have the staff in building inspections or staffing updates. That's not all I got. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared to stand up here and talk. But it's all going along good right now. And we're doing the best we can. I don't know what you want to ask.
Any questions for Mr. Hobbs regarding the maintenance updates? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're good. All right, so Mr. Diggs, I think we are on to the budget report.
Absolutely. Again, thank you, board, for the opportunity to come and, you should have received in your digital packet, what we call, BD 701, which is, the most current, which I think is from, May the 13th, update on where, the budget stands. We won't go into any formal discussions about numbers other than to say a couple of specific things in regard to the invoices that we talked about previously. I've highlighted line items that let us know that there are funds to be able to take care of those invoices. Although I will say, as opposed to what was shown the last time, that the number that is highlighted in yellow on our first large document.
Thank you.
Has decreased by $60,000 from about $920,000 to about $860,000. And that decrease was based on some journal revisions that were done by DPI in my request to make sure that you all had the most updated information that we could in today's meeting about where the budget stood. The other thing that I would say is highlighted in the cash balance report and also in the left side of the report are some lines that, again, just want to make sure that folks are aware that monies are there to do some of the things that you heard Mr. Jones particularly talk about earlier, and or again to help support thinking about how we might end up paying for invoices if that's what the board's pleasure is. We're in good standing with all of those things, but do realize that depending upon the board's decision, or I guess now our delegated decision on how to handle that, that could significantly impact the numbers that you see today from both a salary standpoint and also for operational costs. But again, those highlighted areas in yellow and those highlighted areas in green are there for you to just know and understand. We do have sufficient money to take care of those things. So that I really don't have a lot to say about the budget report, but if there are questions, I'm here to take them and answer them as best I can.
All right, any questions for Mr. Diggs regarding the budget presentation? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Diggs, for the update. I have to get back to my agenda. I think was the superintendent's report next.
Yes.
All right, my memory is strong.
So under the superintendent's report, several items that we'd like to address. Number one, teacher contracts. We have made those available. Thank you to Dean and also to Mr. Simmons about having those recommendations made for the board to be able to review those contracts for teachers. And to the best of our knowledge, those contracts are basically signature ready now at this point. And what I would say is a thoughtful strategy of the board might be to, as we get closer to the end of the school year, to be able to sign those contracts or give me the authority to sign those contracts that actually has my name to it. But we bring those before you so that you have the ability to approve those contracts as by what you see, so that teachers will be in good, teachers that are in good standing based on the information we've been able to obtain can have those contracts at the end of the year and know that they have secure jobs into the next school year. Just know that all of those contracts are based off of the cycle of where different teachers are in their process for teacher cycle and renewal, and also know that proper notifications were given to teachers regarding continuing education credit needs to support that. And so contracts cover that as well. Questions about teachers' contracts? So I don't know if we want to take them line item one by one, and this is a new area for me from the standpoint of presenting contracts to a board. So, Dean, I would lean on you a little bit to say, is there an actual need for a motion, and can we just move forward for approving these contracts?
So the board would have to approve it, and if they would prefer to have a discussion in closed session first on any of the candidates, that they can do that now. I mean, they can have that discussion and then vote, but they're also welcome to vote now if you want to take the contracts together. I think all the contracts are in your materials, right?
Yes, that's correct. All right, so let's pause it there just for a second. What's the pleasure of the board in terms of the teacher contracts? Does anyone have a preference as to holding any discussion during closed session, or is there anyone willing to make a motion to adopt the personnel items as presented?
This is Tiana. Unless otherwise stated, I would make a motion to adopt the teacher contracts and personnel report as a block, as opposed to going line by line.
Okay. All right, so that was a motion, right?
Correct. A motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify. All right, so there's a motion to adopt the teacher contracts as presented as a whole. Is there a second?
I can second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second to adopt the teacher contracts as presented. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. For subpoints B, C, D, E, and F, I won't spend a lot of time going through specific information other than to say that in the last quarter, these are different items that have gone well with the school. We haven't got to graduation yet, but we're getting close. But just know that that is a part of the superintendent's report. Moving forward, I do want to turn our attention in the superintendent's report to the area for business and finance, which is those last 2 pages. I want to bring your attention to the progress that's being made in business and finance with motor fleet vehicles, with our either contracts or forms that are necessitated by the transition, either with DOA or with the state treasurer's office or with the state comptroller's office. Know that those things have moved forward very rapidly, and so not to go to Moorhead's horn too much, but we seem to be ahead of the curve when it comes to the transition things for paperwork and things like that. And so we feel really good about where things stand with that at this point. Also, we were notified last week, I believe it was, that there's going to be what's called a blackout period. So there's going to be a period of time from June 16th on to potentially July the 5th, where there'll be no personnel actions or other functions of HR that would be able to take place during the blackout period. That impacts business and finance, however, not from the standpoint of the actions, but business and finance, because of the transition, is actually having to close all purchase orders and contracts. And then after the blackout period is over with, they will have to reopen those. And so, again, one of those situations I want folks to be aware of because of the fact, as we talked about previously, invoices, but also other things contractually that we are having to do. Business and finance is trying to move very quickly because we want to make sure that we close out before this blackout period so we don't lose information or end up having to do contracts again after July 1 or July 5th. Frank has already covered the pieces about the maintenance progress. We're finding out more information from the Department of Administration and the OSC regarding the actual transfer of buildings. That would be all of the buildings that are currently under EHHS's but we were gonna say control based on memorandum of agreement. And so I have requested that they give us some specifics on when this gets transferred, who's responsible for the transfer, and how does it get back to our inventory. They are researching that information. Hopefully I'll have some information by the end of next week that it can help support us identify those folks, know who's in charge of making sure the buildings get transferred literally back into our inventory and into our control, and then make sure that those show up on our asset and inventory books moving forward. So we're waiting on that response. Also, I wanted to turn your attention to the insurance piece from the State Fire Marshal's Office. Thank you, Dean, yesterday for a quick response. We were able to submit some information to the State Fire Marshal's offices about all insurances exclusive of the motor vehicles. That part has already been taken care of. Motor fleet vehicles, there was a discrepancy about how some insurances were covered. We've taken care of that discrepancy. Our motor fleet vehicles are allowed to transport students and others moving forward now. So that's actually starts again today. Wonderful. But the other part is making sure that the adequate insurance for buildings and others are adequate for the needs of the school moving forward. We've submitted that application, and this also the application also looks at, based on the legislation, we're required to ensure that we have the directors and officers insurance. That quote is being provided as well within what we're looking at, and so I expect to have some information on that by probably mid next week. And then the other two items are just items just for your knowledge. Again, John Jones spoke to the piece about the parking project at the library, and the other item is just the upgrades for technology upgrades that have been ordered on the IT regarding students going into next year and planning for growth. And that part I would say is the superintendent's report. Any questions?
Mr. Diggs, just one question.
Yes.
And I may have missed it. As I was looking through. Where are we with the reallocations of some of those positions for outreach?
That is a great segue into the human resources.
Oh, excellent.
Can we go ahead and move forward with that?
Please.
All right. So again, I want to call your attention to the superintendent's update and report. You should see on page 3 a listing of actions or where we stand on particular jobs, whether they are still vacant, and if they are, what actions have been taken with those particular ones. We actually are hiring a position and potentially another position as of some information I received this morning. So some items that are of high value and high interest. Number one, our user support technician one. I have been able to abolish one of our vacant positions to forward and make sure that we have some additional money supports for a position for user support technician one. That position is already is being created and is at the HR Department of Public Instruction HR level for review, and then we'll go to OSHR. The outreach director position has been processed by NCDPI HR and has been sent and submitted to OSHR for final review and approval. So we are waiting with bated breath, but I think we're going to get it done on that particular piece. And then just as some other notes of actions for positions, we were in the process of hiring a nurse supervisor. That person declined. You can look at the information there to look at the decline and what we tried to do to address some things there. I did notate the position that has been abolished and what that those numbers have gone to. You will also see in reallocation, we also have now a position that shows up on our books for our human resources technician 3. And NCDPI is hoping to assist with posting that position. My expectation by the end of next week, if not earlier, that position will be posted in support. And that is beyond what we have, because currently on the books we have a HR manager position. This will be in addition to that. Business and finance manager interviews have already been scheduled and are occurring currently. And then there's some other information about school positions and just sort of kind of what the disposition is for those right now. So again, just wanted to make sure, and that point was already mentioned, the fact that he's working on interviewing and in a couple of cases, in the initial hiring process for some of those positions. So we are actively keeping the ball rolling and keeping it moving when it comes to those particular items. Yeah. And so for sub point B, I would turn it back over to Dr. Chase and to the board to clarify how they'd like to handle that part.
Yes. All right, well, before we do that, any questions for Mr. Diggs regarding the vacancy report, human resources? Okay, hearing none. All right, so for item B, so Mr. Diggs, the board is in receipt of your letter. So again, on behalf of the board, we want to thank you for your service and your dedication to our school.
If I may.
Yes, I was going to.
It has been a distinct pleasure and an honor to serve as Governor Moorhead for the last 3.5 years. I say there is a lot of significant work that is taking place on this campus, academically, operationally, and otherwise. Very hard decision to come to, but at the same time, I think it's the right decision, and I think it's we are working the hardest to have to make sure that things are left better than when I found them 3.5 years ago. And so that's going to be my continued goal until that final day. And so I thank the board for their flexibility, because I know there's been a whole lot of different things going on this year, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with the transition, how that's going. But our overall goal has been to reassure the board and also our staff that things will continue to move on forward as we move forward. And it is my hope that anything that I can do, even after I leave, to help support that part, I'm an open party to help. This is a program that has not always gotten the support that it needs, and I think we've made strides in the last 3.5 years to bring to bear more of what we do, how we do it, and the significance of our services to not just the Raleigh area, not just the kids we serve, but now to the full statewide. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate the opportunity to serve in this role.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments. I definitely echo your comments. The work of you and the leadership team. I know that we've had a lot of new folks, and I think everyone has worked together really well to put us in a much better place now than where we were 3.5 years ago. So with that being said, under this item, really, so the board has a couple of things that we need to address. The first is one we will do during closed session, and that is discussion of an interim superintendent. But for this agenda item, really what I wanted to bring to the board's attention was the need to discuss any kind of transition planning, as well as the process by which the board would like to go about conducting a search for a new superintendent. And Dean, if you have anything to add, please jump in.
Sure. Yeah. So usually when a school system is looking for a superintendent, there's a couple of different ways to do that. You all are obviously you want to conduct a search, but a lot of times the school board will not have the ability to do its own search simply because all of you are volunteers, right? None of you are being paid to do this, and to kind of really handle the organization of a search requires a lot of work. And so there are a couple different ways to have a third party do the search. One is the School Board Association does superintendent searches. My office also does them for our client. We only do them for our clients, but obviously would consider you our client. So we just did the one for the School for the Deaf in Morganton. as well. And so we're happy to do that too. It certainly, though, however, can be led by board members. Members can oversee as much of it as they want. Really, what the search process requires is opening the process up as wide as you want to search for a candidate, whether that's internal to the institution, external, and then how far external. So, and where do you want to focus that? Do you want to focus on potentially trying to find somebody who has worked in another residential school setting, specifically maybe one for the blind or deaf or visually impaired or deaf, and or are you just looking for somebody that has school leadership experience as well? Would that just be within North Carolina, or would that be nationwide? Certainly, getting feedback from your current staff and stakeholders is always an important component of a search, too. So, we can do that as formally or informally as the board would want to. And then moving into, selecting candidates that have applied for an interview, and then going through that process of, probably at least 2 rounds of interviews. One round with potentially being being virtual interviews with all of you, kind of being in different areas, and then potentially, final round of interview being on site for those for those of you that would be able to attend. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I will tell you, I always tell boards that if you have an internal candidate and you think this person would be a good superintendent, to move up into that role, that's always something we can look at too. So we can make the search as broad or or as narrow as the board ultimately wants to do.
All right. Thank you, Dean. Any thoughts or feedback from members of the board?
In terms of managing the search, I'd certainly want to do some inquiry. I know the Western Pennsylvania School just took on a new superintendent of schools. And so they literally executed a search that finished up 2 weeks ago. I know this because the president of AER, our professional organization, is the person who took that position. That also means that the Lavelle School in Pennsylvania is also actively searching. So we're entering into a search when there is competition for a very small pool of highly qualified candidates. But I think, we would probably be rewarded by casting that wide net, but also finding out how those searches happened. And, I know a few of us on the board have some contacts there. I certainly have some broad contacts that I could explore if that is something that we're interested in doing.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. There's definitely a couple of superintendent searches out there for schools for the blind that I'm aware of. Dean, you may or may not be aware of, but there is the Council of Schools for the Blind, which is sort of a gathering point for leaders of schools for the blind. So that's also another avenue we could potentially reach out to for some resources.
That's very helpful, and certainly I should have said another option is to get another third party to do the search, and somebody like the Council for the Blind. I don't know if they have staff or a lot of staff, or if they handle searches. Somebody like that, if an organization like that does a search, that might be somebody else to consider too. There's obviously also professional search firms that handle wide variety of employment searches for top executives. And I'm certain there's several of these firms in the Wake County, Raleigh-Durham area too. And so, again, it's just a matter of how much you want to how broad you want to make that search, or how potentially even narrow, although it might be nationwide. If you look for somebody who has experience working at a residential school, that's kind of would be a narrow set of experiences, but you're going to cast that net pretty wide, I think, to get as many people into it.
Yeah. All right. Any other feedback? in terms of the process from members of the board?
I think everybody's still in shock that Mr. Diggs is leaving.
Yeah.
That's a compliment,
This
Mr. Diggs.
is
That's
for
a
sure.
compliment.
Yes, for sure.
It is. We're gonna miss him. I
Yeah.
personally just appreciate all that Mr. Diggs has brought to GMS since at least I've been here. I mean, the patience that he's exhibited with my sometimes very basic and trivial questions is just, it's gonna be missed.
So are we thinking in terms of finding an interim person and then the permanent person, so two different tracks here, or?
Potentially. I mean, again, we'll talk a little bit more about the interim in closed session, but you know, if you have somebody in-house that you make an interim, then that is then that might be somebody that's consideration for the permanent position. Another option for interim is, trying to find a retired superintendent or somebody, that has kind of done the job before but is retired to come back in and work for a 6-month period that, the retirement system will allow them to do. So there's a couple different options.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think the first question to be answered, and we may take action on it today, or it may be something that the board wants to ponder and defer to a later meeting. But I'll toss it out there. We certainly, I think the first question would be: do we want who or what? How do we want that search to be conducted? So do we want to engage in a third party? Do we want to do it ourselves? What's the pleasure of the board when it comes to that?
Well, I think that Dean made a really good point, which is that we're all on this board. There aren't all that many of us, and other than the stipend, if we've asked for that, or the per diem, none of us are paid to do this. It seems to me reasonable to have given the amount of work that would be involved, a third party.
Thank you, John. Does anybody else have any preference or feedback?
I agree. It probably has to be somebody outside of us. And I'm open to whatever route that is.
And I guess I'm wondering, or I'm assuming, I would say, which is always dangerous, that there would be bids for that contract. So interested parties would submit. If there were multiple search agencies that might be interested in that, because I know I've heard from 2 or 3 out there.
Generally, yes. We would seek proposals to do that.
Because that becomes its own thing, right? In listing the proposals and making sure it gets in front of the right eyes.
Yep.
The vision field is incredibly small, so it's not a problem there, but also making sure that we're not exclusive if some independent agencies are, there's a very large marriage of skill sets that a superintendent of a school for the blind and visually impaired might have. And no one's got them all. And the agencies that might conduct those searches will also have more familiarity in one direction or another.
Okay, very good. So it sounds like that the consensus overall is that we should engage in a third party. And of course, we would want to have a request for proposals and vet those to make an ultimate selection as to who would lead that search. So is there a member of the board who's willing to make a motion as such?
This is Sean Takun. I make a motion that we prepare a proposal or prepare a request for proposals to conduct a superintendent search. Do I need to add anything else to that? I'm not sure.
No, I think that sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks, fine.
I feel like I should say more words, but there we go. Short and sweet.
Less is more.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I'll work with Mr. Diggs and we'll get that RFQ or RFP ready to go and sent out into the e-world for people to see, get it posted.
Thank you, Dean. Is there
and if any of you all have, I'm sorry, and if any of you all have suggestions on who we should send that proposal to, please let us know so we make sure it gets it in their hands.
Yeah, I'll work to leverage my contacts to see who those agencies are. And Dr. Chase, I think, probably has some Cosby contacts as well within that domain. Not to put you on the spot.
No, you're fine. You're good. All right. So there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. There's a motion and a second for us to put out a request for proposals. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. That motion carries. Okay, very good. All right, so Mr. Diggs, just for our purposes, has there been any discussion with the leadership team regarding transition, and are there any ongoing plans or discussions?
So at this time, we have not talked to the leadership team about any plan for transition because I would want to have that conversation with the board first before making any assumptions about what might be or what might not be. They were aware of the fact that there was potential for potential.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board regarding the transition planning process? Anything that any questions you may have during this period of time? So my only major concern, and Mr. Diggs, maybe you can speak to this, is for a lack of good comparison, our administration, what I would call our central office, the majority of those positions will be vacant, right? And so I guess that's a concern. Has there been any discussion around that in terms of just continuity? And
so for the folks that are still in the admin building and part of the leadership team, it's been business as usual, as I kind of talked about in the superintendent's update. Is just trying to get as many things in place and try to get those positions filled. As I talked about in my letter. Sure. A discussion of a plan that way, no, because I didn't want to make any assumptions about what the transition potential plan may be. And I kind of like to make sure that I kind of know what that is, because again, it's a fairly new piece for me. The other thing that I would say though is again, we'll continue to try to provide the board updates as things get done, and hopefully positions will be filled.
Are we delegating those responsibilities that folks should be doing, but those positions are vacant, or are other people kind of filling in for those right now?
So I would say that in the major pieces, from a business and finance standpoint, some of those positions have some of those obligated duties have been delegated to folks, and some things have been done that I probably feel more comfortable talking about in a closed session.
Okay.
From some other points, I probably want to just update the board on where things stand. I don't want to get too far into these about that. I can provide more detailed updates in the closed session.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but there has been some movement of that type of thing. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions from members of the board? Okay, hearing none. Our next agenda item is closed session, and Dean, if I can phone a friend, I don't have that blurb in front of me.
Sure.
You
Mr.
can
Chairman,
help.
we need a motion. We need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11 under subsection A1 to discuss matters that are confidential, including personnel matters under General Statute 115C through 119 through 121, and student matters under FERPA, as well as under subsection A3 to discuss matters protected by the attorney-client privilege.
Very good. Thank you for being my phone a friend. Is there a member of the board who would like to make said motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Tiana. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to go into closed session. Is there additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, great. So at this time, if you are not a member of the board,